All right. So here is the miracle of miracles is that I am in my summer clothes to teach yoga on October, what, 23rd or whatever this is. So I'm reminded, especially as I kind of sit with the trees that are so beautiful, and that the fall light. I don't know, maybe because I need so much because of the COVID, or my heart, my soul just needs sustenance. I'm just finding it so much more vibrant and so much more incredible. And I'm just going to invite, for all of you to think about bringing more mystery into our life. Like, don't close down the miraculous, the mystical, the way in which so much around us is really working on our behalf. And because we may just go on autopilot in our day, we forget to look for the magic that is in front of us. For me, it's hard to miss because of the trees and everything else, but and Hellcat is open now. I was so excited to see that, and I got to walk the dike. I happened to be there at a time that the dike was open as well. I think it's closed now, but like there are miraculous things that are happening around us, and we do live in paradise. I don't care where I travel. I don't care what I do, how beautiful and how much I love other countries. When I come home here, I'm reminded of the paradise that we live in, and you just need to go outside your door to find this mystery, this magical aspects. So I invite you to really take in the colors of the fall. I'm going to read you the poem that I will also read at the end, but this kind of sums it up for me. In the course of the year, I forget the intensity of a tree in full flame of color. Stand near one now and be painted. That's what I feel. All right, so let's come into that seated pose that supports you, index finger and thumb together in Chi Mudra, and just allow this mudra to open your heart. I often find this mudra when I am a little anxious or a little off center really helps me to center back in. Let the sits bones be into your pillow, the floor, and let's make sure we have that low back curve. We're going to talk a lot about the low back curve. I just feel like it is so important at our age to really be aware of what takes that low back curve away. So I'm on a blanket to lift my hips up, even though I can easily bring my knees down. I want to make sure that I'm honoring that low back curve. Bringing the breath right into the belly. Just letting the breath settle in. Taking a nice long breath. So it's 4 long counts of an inhale in. And the same count of an exhale out. Even a little bit longer on the exhale. I find that kind of interrupts the rhythm of the breath a little bit, and that's a good thing. We want the body to be surprised by the inhale and the exhale, not take it for granted. So begin to really feel the prana, the life-giving force, comes to us by the trees and other wonderful things on the planet, giving us the oxygen that we need and us returning the carbon dioxide that they need. So it's always this beautiful exchange of life. So letting the breath deepen, finding our center on this gray fall day, warm fall day. And then as we sit here and find the sits bones connecting in, let's bring a little more length up through the spine, so we elongate up through the spine. We might have a little bit of our belly going in towards the lower back, but keeping that low back curve, never allowing the tailbone to tuck too far under, engaging the belly and then lifting up bringing the rib cage in, letting the crown chakra move up to the blue sky beyond the gray, letting that blue sky be part of our practice today, that inner glow. So we do a few more deep breaths as we allow the breath to bring us to the inner landscape. And then bring the breath to the belly, then let it rise all the way up to the lungs, and then from there, all the way up to the base of the neck. And you want to hold at the very top of the inhale. You rush so much, let's just pause. And then exhale out from the throat, down into the lungs, and then again into the belly. It's inviting the miracle of the breath, the magic of being alive in this body, letting our spirit experience this incredible earth. And then let the chin come down to the chest as we breathe into the opening of the neck and the upper part of the back. And just staying here long enough until we can really begin to relax the muscles of the neck and the upper part of the back. And let the chin, in its natural way, just find its way towards your chest without manipulating, without being strong, without having a goal other than just releasing, letting go. And then release your hands from your thighs and bring them to the floor on either side of your hips. And on the inhale, lift the arms and lift the gaze in the seated sun breath. You're going to turn and bring your fingers down and chin to the chest. Just let this be a prayer, inhaling arms all the way up. A nice deep inhale, exhale, turn the palms and bring the palms back down to the earth and chin to the chest. 2 more times, palms roll up in the seated sun breath. You may feel yourself getting warm. Turn the palms and exhale. Fingertips down, chin to the chest. And last time, palms roll all the way up. Hands go to prayer over your head, then down to the heart as you go to Anjali Mudra at the heart center. Let's dedicate this practice to something that is meaningful to you this morning. Whatever that might be, and maybe for someone special in your life that needs an extra prayer, an extra attention, or just sending general love out to the world. And I ask that our prayers are connected to all others on the planet that are also in prayerfulness, so that our voices may be large and it may be connected. And then release your hands and just stay seated as you bring your left hand onto the floor and the right arm reaches up. We're just going to stretch into the right side body, breathing in with a nice deep breath. Good. And then release and come all the way down. Left arm reaches up and over. Breathing in once again on the left side. Good. Release and come all the way down. Let your fingers walk in front of you. Just drawing forward. We're just starting class, so you may not go far here. But when you are in a place where you can feel like your heart, it can melt a little bit, bring the bottom tips of the rib cage up and begin to feel the upper part of your back, the thoracic spine. Breathe. And breathe right into that thoracic spine. Just expanding, imagine the vertebra just releasing a little bit. So you can really feel an expansion through the inhale and the exhale. Good. And then walk your hands all the way back to a seated pose. Good. Come off of your blanket. Keep it nearby by in case we need it again. And roll over onto the table pose with fingerprints down. Back of the palm knuckles down and exhale into a cat. And inhale, cow. Let this all come from your tailbone. Exhale into a cat. Tailbone goes down first. Last thing is the head. You're going to keep the head down. As you lift the tailbone up first to move all the way back into a cow. Good. And just exhale, cat again. Just again, feeling the breath, feeling the magic moving through your body. Letting your head be the last thing to move. Tailbone goes up first or tucks under first. You're into a cow. Last time, tailbone down and move into a cat. And then into a cow. Good. Taking a nice deep breath. And just coming back to a neutral. Bring the rib cage up. Fingerprints down, back of the palm, knuckles down. Curl the toes under. Lift all the way up to the first downward dog of the day. You're going to walk the dog, one heel up and one heel down. And then come to center, bending the knees and bringing the tailbone way, way up. Way up. Take the top of the thighs back. Now bring the bottom tips of the rib cage in. So your upper part of the arms are lifting up and you're bringing the bottom part of the rib cage up to meet that mid-back. Hold all of that, come forward into a plank with a nice deep breath. Hugging your ankles in like you have a block between, and then press all the way back to a downward facing dog. Breathing in, a little sideways here. So allow your heart to melt and overcompensate with your shoulders. You can feel how there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders when you overcompensate, bring your heart down too far. So bring the tops of your head of the arm bone up. Bend your knees generously. Take the top of the thighs back and lengthen through the spine. Then add your rib cage up. Lengthen even more through the spine, a little more energy into your fingerprints, palm, knuckles. And slowly with your muscles begin to straighten your legs. And then lift the right leg up, straight back behind you, toes dial down. I always want to go out, toes dial down. Just notice the higher you go, how your rib cage and your belly go down towards the earth. So bring the feet a little closer to the floor. And again, engage your rib cage up towards the spine. Good. Now you can maybe, if you hold that, let your foot go out a little bit further. Good. Then bring your knee all the way into your chest and step it through into a runner's stretch. And from here, you're going to lift all the way up, taking the top of the left thigh back, really opening our hips dynamically this morning. Good. And then arms reach all the way up with a nice deep breath. And just feel the centered part of this warrior pose, high Anjali Asana. Nice deep breath. Good. Then release, bring your hands onto the floor, step it back to downward facing dog. And once again, we're going to build the dog. You want to have a strong dog. Fingerprints down, back up the palm, knuckles down, bend your knees, take the hips up. So your belly's going to go down towards the earth. Then bring the head of the arm bone up, lengthen through the spine, then bring the rib cage up. Bottom tips of the rib cage up, then slowly straighten your legs, holding all of that in place. Left leg lifts all the way up. Just notice if your belly is going down towards the earth. Toes dial down towards the earth. Nice deep breath, just as is needed. You want your belly up and then press through your heel. So it's a nice, strong, dancing dog. Bring your knee into your chest, stretch to begin with. Then bring your hands to the top of the left thigh, taking the right thigh back. Pressing the heel back. Adding the arms all the way up. And taking a nice deep breath. Good. One more breath. Just feel centered. So as leaves are falling and the outside world is changing and we have more dark, better reason to find a deeper center. So we practice that through the poses, keeping our mind steady, working the pose little by little. Good. Then release, come all the way back down. Bring your right foot up to meet the left. Head down towards the floor. Everybody bend your knees. Take the top of the thighs back and away. Just notice your belly wants to lay on your thighs. And let's just take the bottom tips of the rib cage up. Let your head travel down towards the earth a little bit more. Breathing in. So it's about doing the poses in a way that keep growing. Just notice if you're rounding the upper part of your back. See if you can move the arm up toward the ear and back and lengthen and open your front body. Inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana, just halfway, lengthen through the spine. You find this is a little vulnerable for your legs if you're not using your feet. Bend through the knees, take the top of the thighs back. Just feel how that centers you. Lengthen through the spine. Keep the length as you release your head down towards the earth. Good, then bend into the knees, arms reach all the way up, hands go to prayer over your head. Good, and then down towards the heart. Good, nice deep breath. Let's take the block, bring the block right in between the legs. Good, and hug the block in. So as we find this centered area, it's very active here. You want to make sure that your thighs, this is a tailbone that goes under just the top of the thighs forward. It's a seesaw effect. And this is where a lot of people live. So you want to take the top of the thighs back and create the low back curve and then stay right on top of that. Right? You don't want to be rounded here. You want to take the top of the thighs back and then find your hips and your shoulders in alignment. You can see it, but there's also feeling it. So you want to hug into the midline. So it's a combination, because sometimes just the feeling of it might fool you, but when it feels like you've connected in and you can feel the top of your head expand, you can feel your feet root down like a tree. Good, arms are going to reach all the way up into a T position. Nice deep breath. Let's bring palms in towards the camera, towards the middle of the room, taking the head of the arm bone up and back and hollow out the armpits. You're really hugging in. It's a very active pose. Then bring the arms up from the shoulder blades up to an A position or a V, and then bring it all the way back to the T. Good, always hugging into that center. So when you bring your hands up, there's a bit of energy work here. You might feel the energy between your hands kind of singing a little bit. So just notice that. We're in our auric field. Good, and then come all the way back to a T. Now you're going to keep the hug in, bend into the knees. Take the top of the thighs back. Good, you're going to lengthen through the spine, just what we did before, where we were lengthening in Uttanasana. Arms are going to come up into Utkatasana. Cross your left over to the right. So your left is going to go right onto the right knee. You're holding the knee in place. You're holding the hand in place. That's going to help you rotate the torso, lifting all the way up. And just make sure your shoulder, head of the arm bone, is not doing one of these, because we want to open the front body. This closes it down. Open the front body. go a little deeper with the hips. Hugging in, again, hug into the block. Good, release, come all the way back to center. Hands onto the floor. Lift your hips up into an Uttanasana. You can bend your knees generously if that helps. Everybody take the top of the thighs back. Breathing in, a nice deep breath. Find your center. Good, then inhale halfway up. Again, you can bend your knees, take the top of the thighs. Arms are going to reach all the way up. Hands going to curve your head, down to the heart again. And just for a moment, hold. Just kind of feel how the right side is stretched. The left side is stretched. My right side feels very stretched right here. It's really kind of interesting. Nice deep breath. Again, soften the knees so that you really feel the roots going down from the feet into the earth, and lift up so you feel the blue. Paint yourself, like I said in the poem, paint yourself the blue all the way up to the sky. Good. And then open up the eyes, and again we're going to reach with our arms, find Utkatasana, the horseman's pose. This time it's the right hand crossing over to the left. It's a very active position. Hand to knee, left knee is holding. Going to rotate the torso, taking a nice deep breath in, allowing the right rib cage to go towards the left knee. Breathing in, into the twist, and then release, come all the way back to center, arms reach up again into Utkatasana, then down to the floor, and come into Uttanasana, forward fold, head down towards the floor. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Again, you're hugging the midline, feet onto the floor, soft knees, so you can feel your feet connected to the earth, head down towards the floor, then arms reach all the way up, hands going to curve your head, and then down to the heart. Okay, so coming back to center, use your block, put it in the center, your legs are going to go out into Visarda Padottanasana. Same thing, soft knees, strong feet. Now, they're not necessarily bent. It's the difference between locking and soft. Just locking, soft. And the feeling is that your feet have more power. So we're going to come forward, soft knees, thighs back, belly in towards the lower back, rib cage in, lengthen through the spine. If you have that and your feet connected to the earth, you can hold this pose forever with a nice deep breath. It's a big stretch, strong legs, nice deep breath. A couple of deep breaths here before we touch the block. Before we do anything, maintain it. See if your rib cage can actually carry, hold back up so you can feel the upper part of your back alive. Now bring your hands onto the block. Left hand onto the block, right hand onto your hip in a rotation, moving the right head of the arm bone up toward the ear back, taking the left rib cage over. And again, breathing. Don't lock the left knee, but take the left thigh back, and that takes foot power. The foot has to be solid on the floor to take the top of the left thigh back. Now when you have that, you can use the rib cage a little bit more. A little more power to the rib cage. Release, come all the way back to center. Right hand onto the block, left hand onto your hip. And again, keeping the right hip back, foot solid onto the floor, rotate. Right side of the rib cage coming in towards the left foot. Breathing in. Again, it's about where is your breath? Keep your mind in with this deeper breath. Release, come all the way back to center. Hands onto the floor. Maybe bend your knees generously. let your head find the block. And just play a little bit. Just take the rib cage back up. Don't let the rib cage sag down towards the earth. Bend into the knee. Not a big movement. Back and forth. Good. And then lift all the way up to a flat back. Again, adjusting rib cage, hands onto the block, and doing a bigger stretch. Just bending into the knee, back and forth, breathing in. And then when we take our hands off, you gotta switch your energy. Knees are soft, feet solid onto the floor. We're back to where we were with a nice flat back, and then inhale and come all the way back up. Good. You can heel toe, all the way back to center and shake it out. Okay, standing four pose. So come on into a place that actually allows you to feel centered. We're going to lift the right foot up and cross it over so that the ankle is above the knee. And again, you're going to take, just like Utkatasana, take the top of the thighs back, add the arms all the way up. Hug the ankle into the knee back into the ankle, kind of like we were doing with the block. We're still hugging the midline. Feel the energy between your hands. Breathing in, and then release, come all the way back up, shake that out, other side. So let's just, before we do the other side, let's find Tadasana, the mountain pose, closing our eyes, breathing in. Now this mountain pose changes with the season, but there's a basic core of the mountain. Strong, earthy, full of sky, stands its ground, becomes the ground for life. Just feel your own rivers flowing through your body like the mountain. Good, and then open up your eyes. Shifting over to the right foot, you're going to bring the left foot up. And the foot is active. Then bring the top of the thighs back. Arms reach all the way up. Find a place on the floor that you can look, extend through the spine. Also bring the rib cage up towards the lower part of the back. Thigh down towards the earth. Breathing in. Standing four. Standing pigeon. And then inhale and come all the way back up. Release your hands and shake that out. Good. All right, so I want to come onto the floor and do some nice stretches for today. So have a block or have a tie. If you don't have a low back curve, I'm going to encourage you to bring a blanket in so that I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to bring my own blanket in. Good. And then legs going to go straight out into Upavissana with toes lifting up. You want to feel your sits bones solid onto the earth when it heels onto the floor. Now, you can go wide if that's available to you, but what you want to do is work your edge, wherever that is. It's not about pain. It's about really working the muscles. You want muscle energy from your foot to come all the way into your hips, lift all the way up. And again, keeping the low back curve, bringing the rib cage in, and walk. We're going to walk again. You're going to notice what's tight right now, because as we start this, we're going to feel tight. Keep the sits bones onto the mat or the pillow if you're on a pillow or blanket. Breathing in. And I want you to breathe your way right into the stretch. So you're breathing into, for me, it's inner groins that are talking. And lower back. Some of the upper part, like the piriformis, upper part of the glutes. Breathing in, and as I bring my belly in towards the spine, bring my rib cage in, I can feel that energy from my little coccyx bone going all the way up to the top of my head. So just notice that. And then just breathe into that movement. Just breathe into that stretch. And then walk your hands all the way back in. Good. So we're going to bring our left hand onto the inside of the leg. You're going to hold the leg in place and stretch the front body by bringing the head of the arm bone up and back and lifting through. And keep that lift. So we're not crunching like this. You're stretching. Can you see the difference? Stretching. Good. Finding that edge. Holding hand to leg, inside of the leg, and leg to the inside of the hand. You're going to rotate the torso, and then add your right arm up. Breathing in. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're feeling the stretch. Right hip feels airy, so bring the earth into the right hip. Let's bring a little bit more of the earth, and maybe stretch the torso. Can you see that difference? I'm rounding here. You can just stretch a little bit more. So it's not just the rounding here, you're reaching, the torso reaching the head, breathing in. Good, then release and come all the way back up. Now that feels like a really big stretch to me in my body, so I'm going to take a moment to just kind of balance that. Toes sunny side up, bottom part of the heels, the bottom part of the thighs onto the floor, and you're going to stretch again. Now again, we're not going to max here, we're going to the edge. And just allowing for the breath to move into that right stretch a little bit more. Good. Then walk your hands all the way back. So reconnect to your feet. Let more of the muscle energy in. I feel from my feet going right into my hips. And I use that energy to bring my core back, lifting all the way up through the spine. Right hand to the inside. And you'll notice how you start by crunching and just let your whole torso open. Hand to leg, leg to hand. And have this attitude of stretching this way as opposed to head just down towards your toe and crunching on the right side. I want to lengthen the right side. Then bring the left arm up. And again, breathing. My left hip is airy, airy, airy. I'm going to bring that earth down into that left hip. And let it be a point of stability so that I can feel more air through my torso, through my spine, breathing in. So it's just getting more juice, more of the magic of the pose in. And then inhale and come all the way back up. Just kind of center yourself. And then walk your hands all the way through. Again, just coming in front, letting the hips be earthy, letting your spine be airy. Just that blue sky through the spine. Good. And then release and come all the way back up. And slowly begin to bring your legs together. Good. Back into a Dandasana, an inner spiral. So that we're here, take your time. And we're just going to gently bring our hands to either side and come forward with a flat back. And then inhale up. Keep your toes sunny side up. Don't let your toes go out like this, which closes down your lower back. Toes sunny side up. You want to lift up, getting the earth through the hips. Exhale forward. And inhale up. Once again, keep the spine nice and long. So if you find that your spine is beginning to round here. That is an anterior tilt to your lower back. You want the low back curve and lift up through the spine and exhale forward, just holding that. Seeing if you can hold the low back curve. Exhale forward and inhale up. Good. Exhale forward and inhale up. One more time. Exhale forward and then inhale up. Okay. So we're going to come onto our backs, keeping the tie. And we're going to really explore the low back curve. And I touch into many of the classes. We're going to spend a little more time in this class with this low back curve. So, I'm going to come onto the floor, and I want you to have your knees up and feel your low back curve. Now just notice that when you take your rib cage in towards your spine, rib cage in, that takes the low back, can take the low back curve away. So keep the rib cage in and let your pelvis tilt. It's a bit of a seesaw, again a seesaw effect, and it takes a lot more core strength to keep the rib cage down, core strength to do that, to hold the low back curve. So you let the left leg go straight out, right foot up. Tie on hands on either side of the tie. Now, I can lose a low back curve by bringing my toes too far up over my head. And sometimes that feels good to get a nice deep stretch through my hamstrings. Good, as long as I'm taking good muscle energy into the legs. What I want you to explore today, what I want you to all feel, is where do you get the low back curve again? At what angle of your foot do you lose it? What angle of your foot do you have it? So just explore that. Just bringing that toes so that you're losing the low back curve, and then noticing what angle you get it back. And again, always hugging muscle to bone. So we're always encouraging the muscles to protect the bones, especially as we move into winter, falling time, which we do. There's ice, there's snow, it's whatever. So we've got to protect the body. Good. Toes towards your head. Lose the low back curve, and then bring that low back curve back. Good. Just one more time. The two sides are not the same. So we're going to notice that as well. Good. And then switch. Your right leg is going to go on the floor. Left leg is coming up. Same thing. You're looking for, where's the low back curve? Where do I lose it? And what does it take to hold the low back curve? So one side may be stronger than another. I find that my left side is stronger than my right, and oddly enough, and we're saying my right SI goes out. So I am not as strong on my right side as I am on my left, and I do pay a price in my age, at my age. Just saying, know your body. Exhale, toes towards the earth. And then find the low back curve. We want this low back curve so bad because it will hold our spine. And it means that the health of our spine will be available to us throughout our life. Nice deep breath. Just explore a little bit more. This is so worth it. Good. Just a couple more times. Good. And then release. And let your tie be nearby, but put it on the side. We're going to do an exercise into your knee, very actively. Pressing hands to knee, knee to hand. Good, with a nice deep breath. Keeping the low back curved. Don't let your back flatten. See how my back is flattened? I've got the low back curve and I'm holding that. So now you're going to keep your left hand right where it is. Your right hand is going underneath your kneecap. You're pressing your kneecap, right kneecap, away from you, and your hand is pressing it back. And your left hand is pressing your knee away and you're resisting. So now we have an opposite action going on to reset the SI. Good, now you're going to relax that and do the opposite side. So left hand is underneath the knee, right hand is on the kneecap. You're pressing your right kneecap towards your hand and your hand is pressing it back. And the same thing, your left knee is going away from you, but your hand is holding it in place. Nice deep breath. Good, then release all of that. So we're going to lift the legs all the way up, and a pose that I love to teach, and often do not do, halasana, which I love. You're going to lift your hips up off of the floor, and your toes are going to go behind your head. Your hand is holding on to your waist, lifting you up. We can play a little bit here. You can bring your hands like they're a shelf and let your hips just lay into your hands. Halasana, the plow pose. Nice deep breath. Good. And then stretch a little bit more. And then maybe finding that low back curve, letting your hands, let your hips lay into your hands. Good. And then taking one hand, one leg, stretch with the left toes going towards the earth. And release, come back to the plow. And then the right toes are going like they're going to the earth. You're doing like a half split. Release, come all the way back, and again, come to a full plow, full halasana. Release your hands down towards the floor. Move the head of the arm bone up toward the ear and back. And then slowly let your hips come all the way onto the floor. Woohoo! It's a nice release on the low back. Good. Then, keeping the head of the arm bone up toward the ear and back, engage the toes, really important. Engage your core, rib cage in, let your knees and your whole legs slowly come down in a water wheel. You can stop along the way if you want a bit of a challenge. Don't go so fast. I'm going to do that one more time. Bring your knees into your chest and lift your legs all the way up again so that they're parallel to the wall, perpendicular to the floor. I really have to engage my head of the arm bone up and back, rib cage in. A lot of core here. Spread your toes. You want your foot to be solid with the muscle energy. And slowly bring your legs all the way down towards the floor until they hit. Good. Now, bring your knees up, feet solid onto the floor. You can find your block again. It's hopefully close by, like mine is, and put the block underneath your hips. So it's right on the sacrum, right on the larger side, the top of the bone. Okay, and then for a moment, just play with this. Lift up, press into your head. Lift the head of the arm bone up toward the ear and back, palms up towards the ceiling. So you have a nice open chest. Feet solid onto the floor. Find your low back So don't let the tailbone go under with your hips, your top of the thighs and hips shooting forward. Find the low back curve so the thighs are going down. Rib cage in. I can feel the power of the upper part of your back on the floor. Press into your feet. Lift up your hips, but don't go so far that you're now crunching the top of the thighs. Let a little bit of magic happen in your hips. Soften your hips. Let your rib cage lift up. Let your knees walk away from you as we come into Setu Bandha, the bridge pose. Breathing in. Just developing the bridge pose with an awareness of your quad stretch and not jamming your hips. Breathing in, so there's a fullness and an openness through your breath in your torso. And then release, bring your hips all the way back to the floor. Find your low back curve again, right here. Engage your belly. Inhale, lift up again. Don't go to your edge. We're going to find the edge by pressing the head of the arm bone up and back. Press into your head. Let your knees walk away from you toward, or not walk, but stretch. Knees stretch away from your head. And create a fullness of this pose, still keeping your low back curve, but feeling a beautiful quad stretch. And then release and come all the way down. So from here, staying right on the block, bring your knees into your chest, lift your feet up. In a half shoulder stand, Savangasana, the nice full breath right down into the belly, lungs, and throat. So let your legs and your heart feel the reverse flow of blood. And just enjoy this. This is such a pleasure. Like I really feel at peace feeling this pose. It calms my nervous system. I can breathe a little easier. Just kind of notice what it does for you. May do other things, but I know it's very therapeutic. Good. And then release. You can bring one foot down and then the other. Still stay on your block. I want you to bring your right leg straight out. I said we're going to do a lot of stretches today. Left knee into your chest. And you're going to stretch your leg up. You possibly can take your tie, or if you have your hand, still try to keep the low back curve, keep the rib cage in. It's a lot to ask for, I know. Your body's going to feel good doing it though. You're going to stretch your toes towards your head. Good. Keeping the right hip. We're stretching the right hip a little more because we're on the block. Good. Then release and switch. Left foot down, right knee into your chest. Lift the leg up. Either your tie or your hand is going behind your thigh. And just pulse. Pulsation. Spanda. Just pulse the energy towards your head. Getting a nice stretch through the left hip. Breathing in. And then release. Come all the way back down. Both feet onto the floor. Lift up. Take the block out. Roll over to the side. And inhale all the way back up. Woohoo! Come back into a Dandasana, inner spiral, so that you have the inner part of the thigh going down. You want to feel the earth through your hips. So get the idea of planting like seeds into the ground, and cross your left foot over your right, and again, just find that lift. Lift all the way back up. It could be that you can bring your right available to you, then do what you gotta keep your left hip down. And for me, in my body, I shift over slightly to find straight, kind of to compensate a little bit more. Right arm reaches up and crosses over. Leg to arm, arm to leg, it's the same story as it always has been. I'm gonna go down a little bit further so that I can breathe into my back body. So just feel that, just breathe into your back body. Then have this pleasure of lifting all the way up. You're a little deeper in, all the way up through the spine. Then rotate with your head being the last to go. I want to feel the twist through my rib cage, through my waistline. My head it's like I'm not even feeling the twist in my head. It just kind of, my mind is connected to this more inner landscape. I want to, my neck can move one way or the other kind of on a regular, everyday basis. But to feel this depth of this twist is conscious. Like I don't feel this twist, when I'm cooking or when I'm driving or doing, regular work. I want to feel the twist through my organs. So the bottom kind of has to be there but out of the way. Then inhale and come all the way back to center. Both legs straight out, inner spiral, because that brings me back to neutral. And then walk your hands down. So for those in the class that want a deeper, this is so easy for you. You get nothing out of this other than your rib cage going in and lengthening through the spine. You want a little more, you're going to put the block here. And just allow your arms to bring you a little closer in. And that's going to really stretch the lower part of your back. Nice deep breath, but don't do it by just rounding. You want to just let the spine feel like it's that blue sky, lengthening, lengthening, lengthening. Good, hips in the earth, way deep down. And then inhale and come all the way back up. Cross the right over the left. You can bring your left leg around again. It's a deeper stretch, but you want to get your rib cage over, find neutral. With a nice deep breath, left arm reaches up, crosses over, and I want you to round your back. Get deep in there. Get deep and breathe into that lower part of the back. And keep the depth, but lift up through the spine. So you're keeping that connection way deep down. Inhale up, rotate the torso, then add the head. Again, just breathing in. It's all about finding the deeper connection. Finding your way into this inner landscape that connects you both land and sky, ocean and shore. Breathing in, let's be actively involved with the planet that we live on. And then release, come all the way back. Both legs straight out into Dandasana, inner spirals. Release the hips, round again, coming in. You can do a combination of rounding the back and then lifting and doing a straight spine, then rounding, straight spine. Where is your low back? Just notice, where is your core? Are you using your core to lengthen through the spine? Are you using your rib cage? Let your rib cage go up and feel the upper part of the back breathe. Good, then inhale and come all the way back up. So we're at Shavasana. So allow yourself to just go all the way onto the floor. And just feel how you are an earthling on this planet. Did you come on this planet as a fairy? Did you come on this planet to protect the earth? Are you connected to the plants? and the trees? Do you know the beauty of the birds? Do you find all of this inspiring? Let's continue the work. Breathing in. In the course of a year, I forget the intensity of a tree in full flame of color. Stand near one now and be painted. Allow small movements to come back into your fingers and back into your toes. Let your knees float up into your chest and hug them in, gently rocking from side to side. And then fall to one side as you pause for a moment and breathe into this inner landscape that is you. You at peace. And then taking the opposite hand across your body, continue pressing it into the floor, continue the side roll all the way up to a seated pose. And then taking your hands in prayer position in Anjali Mudra at the heart center, call to mind what our intention was for this class. Give thankfulness for this opportunity to share this energy and this wonderful class together. And together let's do one Om. So take a breath in. Om. have peace in our heart and peace in our mind, and true and everlasting peace and healing on this planet. Namaste. Okay.